I got a chuckle out of this slide from AMD's 9850X 3D press tech. If you read it the wrong way, the 9850X 3D gets you a minimal FPS difference and runs memory slower. Now, I think most reviewers will actually agree with the minimal FPS difference, but let me clarify what that slower RAM is alluding to. Welcome to Machines More. So here on this channel, I cover a variety of PC building topics. Just yesterday, my launch review on the 9850X 3D dropped, and I hope you got a chance to check it out. And if you are getting the CPU, which is going to see retail availability today, please consider using the links down below to support the channel. And go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe on this video because it really helps the channel grow. So one thing I wanted to reserve for today is the impact of RAM speed, and then I'll chat real quick about which boards and cooler I would recommend for the 9850X 3D. So RAM, with the DDR5 and RAM market as wild as it is now, what AMD is trying to say with this slide, that's funny header here, is that you don't need the fastest RAM kit. You can just save what they are alluding to, $70. And that way it's okay to splurge on 9850X 3D, right? Now it's important to note that this logic applies generally to X3D equipped CPUs as a whole, right? It's not unique to the 9850X 3D. And that extra 64 megabytes of L3 cache essentially makes having a faster RAM kit less important, since the CPU would rather use the L3 anyway, and you've got 96 megabytes total here with AMD's 8-core X3D parts. So to test this, I dug up the slowest kit that I have, which is a 4800 MHz CL38 2x16 kit. AMD is saying that this has an ASP of $400. Okay, we'll run with that. And compared to the kit that I tested with for the CPU benchmarks, which is a 6000 MHz CL28 kit, which, by the way, I hate doing this. I get the whole situation now. I've had these kits for a long time, and this isn't some, subtle flex or anything. I'm just giving you the numbers. But anyway, probably closer to 550 today, and I know they've got 470 listed there. Maybe that's a higher latency 6000 megahertz kit. Let's just go with, say, a 150 difference in RAM cost, since this is what I actually tested with, just so you know what's reasonable to pair with for this CPU. So I got a pared down set of benchmarks here. We don't need to look too far to get a general idea. Far Cry 6 was the most sensitive tile that I tested, so let's just start there. Really not much of a difference beyond some run-to-run variation. Nothing groundbreaking here, and we already don't expect much of a change at 1440, but just including these here for completeness. Cyberpunk 2077, same thing. It's really not much of a difference between the two kits. Again, Monster Hunter Wilds, run-to-run variation here. And then Battlefield 6, I'd say these are pretty identical. So I'd say AMD's claim here is definitely plausible, and it makes sense logically. If you're setting up a gaming system with an X3D enabled CPU, then you really don't need to spring for the fastest RAM kit. At least that wouldn't be the first priority. At CES a few weeks ago, Bywin was showing off their new Origin code lineup of super high spec high performance RAM, which you could absolutely go for, but you don't really need to if you're going for an X3D CPU, even though these kits do look pretty darn interesting. But there's one thing that you should be aware of, which may or may not matter, but here it is. There is an impact outside of gaming. Take, for example, Blender, where you will see a 6% penalty in render times with just that RAM kit. TimeSpy's benchmark can be very RAM sensitive, so this is going to be more of your outlier. About a 10% decline in the score with the slower kit. Basically, it's not going to affect less intensive or single core applications as much, but your heavy multi-threaded, multi-core processes will suffer. Now, get it. Most people are running the CPU for workstation applications, but you may want to do something on the side, even if it's not mission critical in addition to your gaming. So just know that there is an impact in certain situations and scenarios with the slower kit. Again, this is not exclusive to the 9850X 3D, so if you are thinking to go X3D, this is hopefully good to know, and I will have a few kits linked down below that you can consider if you are shopping for DDR5. Okay, next up is cooling. As many of you have seen from quite a few reviewers, myself included, the stock power draw as tested for the 9850X 3D is in fact in higher territory than the 9800X3D. For heavy multi-core stuff, which is where you would see the highest thermal impact, it's about 14 to 15% higher. For gaming, the extra draw that I saw was around 30% higher, so hitting 100 plus watts in many scenarios. So we definitely want to right size our cooler to the load. Now with the 9800X3D, you could have gotten by with a small low profile cooler like I have here in your gaming only situations, and especially if you do some undervolting. That the 9850X3D is at a less efficient point on the voltage frequency curve does not have too much of a cooling choice impact for your higher end of the cooling spectrum. So your 360mm radiators, those are gonna continue to be more than adequate, but it does mean that our fringe cases at the bottom of the spectrum aren't really viable anymore without serious concessions. So I would really shy away from using those. I did my testing with Nocto D15G2, which is a top tier air cooler, and that's comparable to a good 240 or 280mm liquid cooler. Those are going to be a good median recommendation point. An excellent 240 like Cooler Master's Atmos series, which I've reviewed extensively, comes highly recommended. A 240 there would work perfectly fine. As for where I would draw the line on this one, I think generally speaking, a good dual 120mm fan-based tower air cooler, that's going to be where you want to start. Now, I did get a bit unlucky with timing, since up until recently, this guy, the Cooler Master Hyper 612 Apex, was $50, which is an incredible deal. Now recently, it popped back up, which, you know, I already picked it out for the testing. It's not a double price, but that does mean it's less competitive against some cheaper S-tier offerings from companies like Thermalright. So those are also worth considering. Nonetheless, the reason I draw the line here, again, we're sizing for the worst case power draw. With the Hyper 612 Apex, we are already losing quite a bit of clock speed versus your more median recommendation. This basically drops performance down to 9800X3D level. And I mean, the gap here is not huge, enormous in terms of the thermals, but like at this point, you might as well just get a 9800X3D, right? In terms of the gaming loads, the Hyper 612 Apex will handle it just fine, but these fans are going to be more audible than the fan speeds from a good 240 or 280. Now you can undervolt and overclock like I did here for this testing, and that brings package power more akin to a 9800X3D, and the temps become more manageable. But again, these are still pretty high fan speeds to keep this in equilibrium, and there is, you know, still going to be a decent clock gap between your solid starting point options like my D15 here. So basically what I'm saying here is that there's not a sensible reason to spend extra for that 9850X3D and then shortchange it on cooling, because that stock you could end up with basically 9800X3D level performance, but less efficient, which is why I would not recommend these smaller coolers here. You might as well just get a 9800X3D. Okay, last but not least, board choice. You're going to need an AM5 board to pair with this. If you want a current generation chipset board, and this is gaming oriented, you don't need a whole bunch of fast IO. I would go for a B850 chipset equipped board now. Now I cover more ITX, and my recommendations there are usually look at the ASUS for MSI B850 ITX, but more broadly speaking, a B850 chipset equipped board will give you what you need for this CPU. It's not extremely power hungry, so your boards with even modest power stages will be absolutely fine. Now you could, and I tested with one, but you don't need to step up to the X870 or X870E for the 9850X3D, even if that's what reviewers are testing with. Now, if you are stretching budget to afford this chip, you can also look at B650, which is the previous gen, but still AM5. Now, there's plenty of more budget-minded choices that you can still get. Now, in ITX space, cooking up a build with this soon. This is the B650E-I from ASUS. At this point, it's quite a good value. It's got a Gen 5 expansion slot and Gen 5 M.2, so if that helps you afford a better CPU, then yeah, this can totally make sense. Now, I know the topic is 9850X3, but man, for a gaming-focused build, the 7800X3 is still such a good CPU with such good efficiency. Now, if you put this board and this CPU together, that will be such a sweet combo. And I just kind of give you a sneak preview on that build. But yeah, long story, as long as you have enough ports for your needs, you really don't need to go to that X level chipset. B chipsets on the AM5 side allow for CPU and RAM OC, and that is going to be where the sweet spot is. All right, so I hope you found that information helpful. So please make sure you give a like and that you're subscribed. I mentioned I do have links down below for things discussed, and happy hunting. I'll see you in the next one.